by the time I turned 33, I went from 6 figures in debt to $1 million business, making, according to Forbes, more than most doctors and lawyers. And so I'm gonna show you how to make money so fast it feels illegal. The first way to do this is to understand the mindset multiplier. Back a few years ago, I ran a marketing where I mentioned making $86,000 in a month, and the backlash was wild. People were saying things like, "Where's the proof? You're lying! No one makes that much money unless they're scamming people." And it was all just incredibly negative. And then soon afterwards, I hit $105,000 in a month, which is great, but the numbers don't matter here. What matters was their reaction. When we see someone else making a lot of money, it brings up all kinds of subconscious beliefs, and it's often not positive. Instead of thinking things like, "Wow, I'm next, I'm right behind her," or "Hold the door, I'm coming too," what do we think? We say things like, "That's not true," "They must be a bad person," or "trying to hurt others," or "They couldn't possibly be trying to help anyone." And so we have this knee-jerk, this automatic reaction that's negative to people who are successful. And this is a big problem, because if you believe that people who make a lot of money are bad or immoral at their core, then you won't feel any urgency to become a person who makes a lot of money. Your brain is going to resist hard, and you just won't be the person who goes out and makes the most money you've ever made in your life, because deep down it feels wrong. And it doesn't just stop there. These beliefs don't just make us judge other people, they make us scared we'll be judged if we ever have money. And we suddenly have things that we could never have before, we could never afford before. And we're scared that with money, we'll somehow automatically become this bad person. And so now these thoughts all live in our subconscious, which is why they're so hard to notice. It's not just a you problem, it's a societal, cultural, and an everywhere problem. Just think about TV shows and movies. And when there's a really wealthy person, a businessman, an entrepreneur, the most successful person in the town, they're pretty much always portrayed as corrupt, cutthroat, or even criminal. Maybe they sold their soul to get to the top or had to sacrifice everything to succeed. So these are the storylines that reinforce the belief that money equals bad. And that's before even getting to the things that you may have heard from your family growing up, maybe your Uncle Bob, something your dad said, or your mom. But the truth is, money itself is neutral. It's not good or bad to have a lot of money. It's just extra zeros in your bank account. It's just a circumstance. And when you truly internalize this idea that money is simply neutral, then it becomes possible to believe that rich people can be good or bad. And at the same time, poor people can also be good or bad, because it's what you choose to do with your money that actually draws the line. So if you notice that you have negative reactions to people with money, and if you have a goal to be financially successful yourself, then that conflict needs to be addressed, because you are not aligned with your own goals. And here's what I want you to do. First, you just need to notice the thought. For example, what's your reaction when you see someone driving a really luxury car like a Porsche or a Rolls Royce? Is your immediate thought something like, "I can't believe you threw your money away on that"? Or, "You must be really self-absorbed to spend money like that on a car. If I had that kind of money, I wouldn't do that"? If that is how you think, then you need to challenge your assumption. So ask yourself, is the person driving the Porsche really materialistic? Do I know that for sure that they are a bad person? And then the third step, which makes this exercise a really fun challenge, is to intentionally flip your belief. If your first thought is negative, ask yourself, "I wonder how they're serving the world. I wonder what they're doing with their money to help other people." You can even feel gratitude for crossing paths with that person, because they've given you evidence that making that amount of money and living an abundant life is possible, and that's a gift. But I want to take this first point one step further, because you really need to be careful about who you spend your time around if you want to build wealth so fast it feels illegal. Which brings me to strategy number 2, social leverage. And I really want you to sit with this one, especially if it's hard to hear, because the people closest to us, our family, partners, friends, even though they love us, they often won't fully understand what we're doing. Their reactions won't always be super supportive right from the start, or ever. And sometimes they might be the exact opposite. They might even be reinforcing all the negative beliefs about money that we just talked about. And so if you're sharing your success, telling your family about the business you're growing, or saying, "Hey, I just signed a $2,000 client," they might respond with something like, "Okay, that's nice," or "Oh, good, I'm glad you did that." And you can tell they just don't get it. And you need to be okay with the fact that not everyone will like you, support you, or even understand what you're doing in order to be successful, even if it's the people who love you the most. So instead, you want to surround yourself with people who do get it, because there's something really powerful about being in a space with people who share your drive and share similar goals. You've probably heard the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And show me your friends and I'll show you your future. So these sayings exist for a reason. We influence each other way more than we actually probably think. This is called social contagion theory. It's the idea that our beliefs, behaviors, and emotions spread between us, often without us even realizing. Just think about it. If you're spending time with people who are obsessed with personal goals, you'll start reading more, listening to more podcasts, stepping outside your comfort zone. If you spend time with people who are super fit, you'll end up getting into the best shape of your life. The company you keep shapes who you become. That's why you've got to spend your time with people who lift you higher. And if you want to be rich, surround yourself with people who are richer than you. Because the things that truly move the needle for you come from being around people who have already walked the path, solved the problems, and hit the milestones you're aiming for. Their mindset becomes your mindset. Their standards become your standards. And suddenly, the impossible feels totally normal. And so join a mastermind, join a program. It doesn't have to be my program, it doesn't have to be OCI, which is my program, but find a group of people who are in the same arena as you, who can support you, challenge you, and see you do one of the hardest things of your life. Because I know firsthand what it feels like to be the only one in your circle chasing your dreams. It was super lonely for me in the beginning. I know what it's like to have no one to talk to who gets what you're building, to have your ideas questioned instead of championed, to feel like you're doing something completely out of the norm and you're doing it alone. That's exactly why I built OCI. It's an environment where people are actively building high-ticket coaching businesses just like you. Every week, you get support, strategy, and straight-up accountability. You're not guessing what to do next. You're following proven steps alongside people who are actually doing the work. Because everyone in the room is playing big, you start to think bigger too. You start raising your prices. You start selling confidently. You stop overthinking every move. Because when you're in the right room with the right support and strategy, the momentum becomes inevitable. So if you want to know more about that and you're looking for more support and you want help getting your offer created, I'll leave the link to my offer challenge down below. This is where we create your offer in 5 days. I'll leave that link for you down below in the description. Strategy number 3, value advantage. So if we now know that money doesn't come from being morally deceitful, hurting other people, or even taking advantage of others, where does money actually come from? If you really want to build wealth, then you need to know that money comes from one thing only, and that's value. So what does value actually mean? It sounds really simple, but it's not always super obvious. And I remember hearing this a long time ago, way before I became a coach. I used to think to myself, if money comes from value, how do I actually create value? And what does that even look like? What do I need to invent, like a brand new light bulb? But it was only when I started changing people's lives through my coaching business that I really understood what value is. Value is anything that helps someone solve a problem. So that might be helping someone save time, feel better, get a result they deeply care about. Sure, it could be coaching, but it could also be a product like a meal planning app that helps busy parents save time, a service like all-in-one podcast editing, software that automates email marketing, or a YouTube channel that helps people improve their mental health. Because money comes from value, you need to charge accordingly, not based on how long it takes, not based on your years of experience, and not based on how fancy your Instagram feed actually looks. You charge based on the value of the transformation you deliver. But what's also really important to remember is that for this value equation to work, someone also needs to be willing to pay for it. There has to be demand. And you might be pouring your heart into something that feels valuable to you, or something you think is really helpful, or something you're really passionate about. But if nobody wants it and no one is willing to pay for it, then it's not value. Because value only exists when it's perceived and experienced by someone else. So yes, you're the one who creates value, but that value also needs to connect with a real person who sees it, wants it, and is ready to invest in it. That's the difference between a passion project and a profitable business that makes real money. The more you focus on solving meaningful problems that people care about, the more value you create, and the more value you create, the more money you make. That's the game of making money. Strategy number 4. The next thing you really need to understand is this. Where are you actually spending your time? This one question is a make or break factor, because I've seen so many people never make any real money, never hit consistent 10K months, 20K months, 30K months, never even scale to 100K, simply because they have no idea what to spend their time on. And maybe you feel that way right now. You don't have a clear plan, you have no direction, and it feels like you need to do everything all at once, trying to figure it all out. Trust me, I've been there. I spent so much time working on the wrongs, things that didn't really even create any momentum at all. But here's one thing you absolutely must be spending time on, and it's definitely not what I thought when I first started. Let me tell you, I was obsessed with having a beautiful website. I spent hours looking at what influencers and big name people had, what kind of websites, what kind of pictures, what kind of layouts, what kind of links they used, and I knew nothing about websites. I was trying to copy what looked legit and build this pretty website for external validation. And I remember signing up to Squarespace, and I poured hours into building my website. And one morning I woke up early before I went to work, and I just ended up in tears because I couldn't make any progress. I was so bad at websites, and it was just so frustrating. But this website didn't end up making me any money. It didn't bring me any clients. It made me zero revenue. I had wasted so much time trying to make it look perfect. But when in reality, in the beginning, the only thing you should be spending time on is sales and marketing, because these two things will make you money. Sales and marketing is the engine that drives your business forward. It attracts clients, it fuels growth. And spoiler alert, a beautiful website is not marketing. If you don't have any way to drive traffic to it, even then, just driving traffic to a website doesn't create clients unless you have a system behind it that moves the traffic into a buying decision, into paying customers. And so the one thing I do with all of my clients in OCI who struggle with time management is a full audit of their day, where their time is actually going. And sometimes we don't even realize how little time we actually spend on selling and marketing. Maybe you don't know how much time you're actually spending on those activities right now, and that's okay. The first step is to do the audit. Track everything. How much time do you spend actively selling your product or service, actively marketing your business? And by the way, watching webinars or downloading freebies does not count as marketing and selling. You have to be actively reaching out and building relationships and closing sales. If you only change this one thing, you start spending more time on sales and marketing, I guarantee you will make more money than you've ever made in your business this year if you just change where you're spending your time. If you don't know where to start, then you need to hire someone who does. You need to hire someone to help you, which brings me to strategy number 5. Who to hire. This is the 5th and final lesson. Seriously sped up my success. Investing in help multiplied my progress 10 times over. But 99% of people wait too long to do this. You work a one-person show for so long, hustling and juggling a million different things, wearing every single hat, the researcher, the marketer, the accountant, the product designer, the copywriter, the client manager, but you have zero revenue and you're stuck. So you need to hire these 2 types of help as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will end up costing you millions of dollars in the long run. First, you need someone who's already done what you're trying to do. The person who holds that lantern and lights up the path in front of you. So you're not just stumbling around in the dark, feeling lost and alone for ages. Your brain can't focus on the right things if it's never been exposed to them. That's why you need someone who can introduce you to the ideas you don't even know how to think about yet. Someone who brings clarity, systems, and fresh strategies that shortcut your path to success. Just think about all the new ideas that you have from watching this video today. They probably wouldn't be in your head right now if you hadn't clicked on this video and watched up until this point. And by the way, if you have learned something new, I'd love for you to drop a comment below and share what that was, your biggest thing that you've learned thus far in this video. Your beliefs about what's possible shape everything, especially when it comes to making money and building a business. Look at pricing, for example. You might not even believe it's possible to charge $3,500 for your single offer. And if you don't know how to create a $3,500 program in the first place, or how to find people who are willing to pay for it, of course it's going to feel impossible. That's exactly why you need help from someone who's already done it before, because the right kind of help turns, I can never charge that much. I'm just 3 clients away from making $10,000 this month. And the second kind of help that you need is someone who can take the busy work off your plate. Think of them as your backpack unloader, the person who takes all the heavy stuff off your shoulders so you can actually run faster through the forest. And as we talked about before, you should be spending the majority of your time on sales and marketing, the things that actually generate revenue. This means everything else should be delegated. All the little things like making graphics on Canva, writing LinkedIn posts, replying to emails can be outsourced. And you can easily find help with things like that. There's platforms out there, Fiverr, Upwork. Don't just try to do it all alone, because you're never going to actually build real momentum if you're constantly stuck in the weeds doing everything yourself. And if you want to learn more about sales and marketing, then you need to first understand the psychology of influence, which is exactly what I break down in this video over here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one over there. Bye-bye.